So Fred, thank you for leading us in a discussion this past Friday in Friday Night Live, in which you talked about, or you had us talk about money and God, and money
Yes.
and spirituality.
Yes.
And it was a really rich discussion. And
Yes.
so thank you for this time now that we can continue some of that
It is
conversation.
my pleasure. You know, you mentioned the word abundance as we were talking about this. And most of the time we think of abundance as being abundance in money. And that's okay. I mean, I don't mind having abundance in money. But it turns out that abundance in the spirit or abundance in God, according to what you believe, leads to abundance in money if that's what you want or if that's what you need. And so I'm still stuck on the idea that abundance comes from recognizing how intimate you are, each one of us are, with that spirit, that essence of all that made things, that universal power that holds up the universe. When we stay as much as we possibly can connected with that, then if there's a need, the need is manifest. Now that is to say, if you believe in the spirit, and hey, there is a possibility of having abundance without being spiritual. I think that's a possibility. But you have to follow spiritual laws in order to do that, even though you don't know you're following spiritual laws. And I'm thinking about the spiritual law of cause and effect. Cause and effect. If you put in a certain thing, you'll get out a certain thing. And so some of the rich guys know exactly what to do. They put in a certain thing, they get out a certain thing, and they focus on that. And sometimes that's fulfilling, I would imagine. I don't know because I haven't been that rich yet. But I would think it would be like the rich young ruler. He realized there was something missing. There was something lacking. Even though he had gotten all this money and carried out all of the laws, nevertheless there was something missing. And Jesus, the person that I follow because I like what he says. That's the hope. I like the way he does things.
Okay. So that's why you call yourself a Christian.
Exactly.
A
That's why I
follower
call
of Christ.
That's right. Thank you for being it succinct, making it succinct. Said, love the man, but said there was one thing lacking. And he already knew that because he came to Jesus and knelt down. Imagine a rich man kneeling down to somebody. That tells you that he knows he was lacking something. And that lack, I believe, is lacking the realization that the spirit, you're connected with that spirit. Not just connected, but intimately involved in
Well,
it.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
The Christian Bible says, the poor you shall have with you always.
Yes.
Now talk with me, or talk with us really,
Yeah.
in this era where there's so much focus on prosperity.
Yeah.
And we have prosperity gospels.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And
All
we
over the
have
place.
people willing to sell their souls to the devil, as it will, in order to have. And our culture tells us the only value you really have is based on how much money and how much wealth you acclaim. I mean, we're very prosperity oriented.
Definitely.
And there's texts in the Bible that suggest that God honors God's followers and those who are aligning themselves with the principles and the path of God, that God honors them with wealth. I mean, so there's a lot of that in the book.
No question.
That many of us follow. So how do you talk about that in this context, with this focus on prosperity, when the reality is that there are people who are faithful to God?
Yes.
And who do not, who may have abundance in many other ways in their lives,
Yes.
but do not have abundance when it comes to money and to financial wealth. What do you say to our listening audience about how that can be, and what's the meaning and the spiritual significance of that?
That's a good question, because I think it really is a matter of whether, if you how can I put this? If you are rich in many different things and you have enough money to take care of yourself and your family, then the goal of becoming rich is not something that you focus on. Now, if you need more money, that's a different matter. If you need more money to support yourself and perhaps even to give a little money to people around you, that's what's important. But you know what? When you asked that question, you know the first thing that came to my mind?
What?
How some passages in the Bible, as you said, and the society as a whole, and all of us have kind of accepted that to such an extent that even when we are poor, we still, how can I put it, we still focus on money rather than on the relationship that we have, and letting that relationship give us whatever we need. But it's the influence of that is so strong. Oh my God. The influence of society, and you just said in some certain passages in the Bible support you in that regard, that you're supposed to be rich. And so even when you're poor, you feel guilty about being poor, as though something's wrong with that. If you have enough money to take care of yourself, what's the big deal? If you have enough. Now, if you don't have enough, then I still think the issue is longing for the money so much that you forget that the Spirit will provide for you if that's what you really need.
Okay, so two things that have come to me from what you've said.
Good.
One is, I remember hearing First Lady Michelle Obama speak at the Democratic National Convention and talk about how she grew up poor, but they didn't really know that they were poor.
Right, exactly.
And because there was abundance of spirit in the home.
Exactly.
So that's one thing. The other, and my story is not too far from that either. But the other thing is about what we need. Some of us are better experiencing relationship with God when we don't have an abundance of money. And you were talking about the rich young ruler. And it's my prayer that no matter how much money I have or don't have, that nothing gets in the way of the intimacy in the relationship with God, who is the source of all that I need.
That is beautiful. That's use of
whether I have or don't have.
Exactly. And that's what I've been trying to say. That is to say, what's foundational for many of us of faith is the relationship. That's what's important, because once that happens, it doesn't, like you said, like your good friend Paul said, you can abase and abound.
Yes.
You have some money and don't have any money, but that's not the issue. The issue is the intimacy of the relationship. That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line.
Oh,
so
yeah.
We're going to wrap up, but here's the thing I want to say.
Okay.
So, what I was taught in church growing up, in the Black Pentecostal church, was that money was the root of all evil.
Right.
It's not.
No.
It's the love of money.
Absolutely.
And whether it's money or any other resource, when we put that first above the source, when we rely upon those resources, whether it's money or people or job or any of those things, when we rely on those more than we rely on the source, that it throws our lives out of balance. And so we're going to continue these conversations about money and spirituality. And so stay tuned, and we'll let you know probably sometime as we're going into the month of December. We'll talk about money again, because it's always a big issue in the month of December.
It will always be a big issue, but the month of December, you're right.
Yes.
That's when it really is a big one.
Blessings. Talk to you later.
Yes.
Our time on the couch together.
Thank you.